What's up, War Report family? I am your host, C Dub. Tonight, we talk a little bit of recruiting as Auburn has some official visitors coming in this weekend. We'll discuss that and a few other interesting topics and more in today's edition of the Mid-Week Rapport. Happy Wednesday, everyone. All of us are here. You are watching the Midweek Report, courtesy of AuburnSports.com. Guys, one of the best ways that you can support the War Report is to support our day ones. That starts with AuburnSports.com. So please head over there, check out all of their content. Shout out to JG Tate and those guys for supporting us. And thank you guys for all that you do for us, including sharing this video on social media, Facebook and Twitter. Even add us so that we know that you shared it. Even use the hashtag. Help us with the YouTube algorithm, guys, by smashing that like button. And if you're new to our channel, first of all, welcome. Second of all, subscribe, please, as we grow our numbers, as we head towards 20K strong of the War Report family. You can also become a member and check out some of this dope content Ike be dropping in the off season. Tell them how they do that, Ike.
Just click that join button. The join button gets you in there with membership. For the members, we usually do a live stream on Thursdays with film reviews. We're looking at film for basketball and football, trying to get you guys in the know of what you can expect from our players coming up in this next season. So make sure you are on board with membership. Go ahead and click that join button. For the patron members, you get that as on-demand content, so you can go back and watch that whenever. But if you want to be in there on the live stream, you got to be a member to do that. And just so you know, I know the season, we're within 90 days. We're like 80-something days away from game one. If you don't know, now you know. We do give away 2 tickets to every home game. As always, we're bringing that back this year, and you have to be a member to get in on those drawings. So make sure that you guys go ahead and do that. Membership gifting can be done if you are a member. You want to gift somebody a membership, they get the first month on you. YouTube randomly assigns that to somebody out there in the YouTube world, and they get a free membership on you, so you can gift those memberships. Thank you to everybody who's continued to do that. You guys saw the shirt because I was rocking it on Sunday, but I'll go ahead and give away one of them. How about that? You're not going to get the shirt I had, but you're going to get one with the home design on it, right? So we're going to give away a white pocket t-shirt, right? The pocket on the front has the War Report logo. On the back, it's got the home design on there. So we're going to give away the first of those. Those will be available for sale starting tomorrow. So you can be the second person to get the home design. I'm the first. I'm always the first because I got to try out my own designs. You know what I'm saying? But you'll be the second person to get one. Actually, I have one for you too, Caesar, by the way. I didn't tell you that, but I got one at the crib. Right here for you. So, you know, Caesar actually will technically be the same. Anyway, it doesn't matter. What matters is hashtag Get Your Weight Up, sponsored by War Eagle Oil. You can get in on that, and we will get that shirt out to you. Yeah.
The community said hashtag no more mugs, and I came through.
Listen, man,
I try to listen every now and
then. Try to listen every now and then, right? So you know, it is what it is.
Gentlemen, we are in June, so you know how football news travels mighty slowly. So we're going to talk about some recruiting. To help us do that, we have a special guest from AuburnSports.com to actually talk about recruiting. I'm going to bring him in for you guys right now. It's Mr. Caleb Jones. Caleb, how are you, sir?
What's going on? Yeah, I'm here now. Woo.
Hey. My guy.
Well, good to have you here with us, man. Let's just get straight to it. I know you've been kind of covering a lot of the recruiting information, and Auburn had some official visitors this past weekend, some big names. To name a few, Jamonte Waller, the 250 Rivals 250 outside linebacker, 4-star kid. You had TJ Lindsey, and you had the Bama commit, Jalen Mbakwe. I think I said that right.
Yeah.
How did this weekend go? I know you covered some of these guys. You talked to some of these kids. Just kind of overall, how did it go this weekend with Auburn and their official visitors?
Well, this is the first weekend that, Auburn's had official visitors under Hugh Freeze as far as the high school level. And I think they did really well this weekend. They brought in, like you said, some high caliber guys, and they seemed to really enjoy their time. Auburn definitely gave them something to think about after this weekend. So I think it's a great success, and I think you're going to kind of see that continue over the next couple of weeks. Just a bunch of guys coming in.
Did you get an indication from Mbakwe about like how he how he's doing the most on social media right now?
Yeah, there's a sentiment and feeling that
Yeah.
he's just kind of playing it up right now.
Mhm.
He's fully committed to Bama, but he's taking the visits because he can.
Yeah, I think out of all obviously there's a bunch of Alabama commits that Auburn's interested in, guys like Perry Thompson and other guys like Sterling Dixon, right? Mbakwe is one of those guys. Out of all the Alabama commits, I think Mbakwe would probably be the hardest one to flip if I were to take a guess. But I mean, it's just a kid enjoying his recruitment. Whether or not there's actual interest in Auburn, only Mbakwe knows that. I do think, with an official visit, it gave him a chance to kind of really see Auburn a little bit better under Hugh Freeze, because he came for a spring practice and then he was back here. I think this could be one that if Auburn kind of keeps pushing, and I know they will, that we'll see how it kind of plays out. But maybe down the stretch, this could be one that it's between Auburn and Alabama on signing day. I think that's best case scenario for Auburn fans, that if Mbakwe were to flip, I think it's one of those where it would have to be on that early signing day.
And guys, as you're watching, please be sure to ask us your comments. Put your comments in the comment section. We will definitely try to grab those and ask Caleb for you. So please be sure to do that. Caleb, one question I do have about Jamonte Waller is I read your article that you talked about him, and the Auburn coaching staff appears to be trying to make him a priority. How does that affect them with Joseph Phillips? I know he's the kid that's right down the street in Tuskegee, and I've saw a few crystal balls from other people having him going to Georgia. So I don't know what has changed with the Jack recruitment, and who does this coaching staff like at the moment?
Well, I mean, I think, Jack recruitment, as far as, that position wise, I mean, we all know that's one of those positions where you're going to need a lot of depth. You don't really have a ton of veterans. You have guys like on this roster, like Elijah McAllister, who's going to be gone, I think, after this season. And that's going to leave you with kind of this hole. So kind of going back to your thing with Joseph Phillips is, yeah, Jamonte Waller, he may be their number one guy, but I don't know if that affects Joseph Phillips as much as maybe some people think. I think this is a position where you're obviously gonna need depth. You're gonna need guys that are gonna have to come in and compete. And I think Auburn's in great standing to land Joseph Phillips and even Jamonte Waller. These are two battles that are very winnable. If you're Auburn, I think there's a world where maybe you do win both. And if you can win both, that's a huge win for Hugh Freeze and this coaching staff.
Got a follow-up question just as it pertains to this past weekend. You also, I think you may have had a chance to talk to TJ Lindsey. I believe that was a defensive end recruit. He's another 4-star kid. Talk about him for a second, and just how does the coaching staff feel about him?
Yeah, first off, he's a big kid. He's every bit of 6'5". That you look at that guy and you say, hey, he's gonna play on the defensive line at an SEC or an ACC or Big 12, whatever powerhouse school. He's going to IMG Academy. I think I kind of noticed this on our podcast earlier this week, that he's going to IMG Academy, and I think the coaching staff really that puts kind of them on notice of the fact that he wants to be coached. He wants to reach his fullest potential, and that's what you want in the guys. You want a kid who wants to learn and wants to develop as best as he can. So he's going to try and get that exposure and go wherever he feels that he can be coached up the most. So I think that's an outstanding quality for this young man to have.
Caleb, so Rivals has 19 recruits in state in the 2024 cycle rated 4-star or higher. We talked about Mbakwe. He's a second ranked player in the state. DeMarcus Riddick is ranked just over him. But Auburn has 3 verbals so far in the top 20 of recruits in state. So Amon Lane has given Auburn a verbal. Jaden Lewis has given Auburn a verbal. And Jamarian Burnett, the running back, has given Auburn a verbal. What are your thoughts in terms of how many of these guys Auburn is going to be able to land? Nick Saban and Kirby Smart have kind of been having their pick of guys from the state of Alabama. Do you feel like Hugh Freeze is making grounds with the in-state recruits, the top in-state recruits?
Yeah, I can't really give you a number as to how many of these guys I think Auburn has a chance to land right off the top of my bat. But I'll say this much. I feel like this coaching staff has really gone out of their way and has really put in the work as far as going on the road to develop relationships with these head coaches and all these powerhouse programs within the state of Alabama, that maybe you do kind of start to see this upward trend of Auburn's kind of getting more in the mix of these kids that have in years past, and at least the last couple of years, have been going, either out of state to Georgia or staying home and going to Alabama. I think you're going to kind of see an uptick as, how many of these kids Auburn actually has a fighting chance for.
So we've seen, Caleb, on social media, the overtures from Walker White, the quarterback that's already committed. How much do you feel like that actually impacts the decisions that some of these other guys are making about where they want to go to school? Like, is Walker White making a difference out here for us right now?
I mean, absolutely. As far as, if Walker White texts the kid and says, "Hey, come to Auburn," I don't know if that kid's like, "Well, Walker texted me, I'm going to go to Auburn," right? But it's about building that relationship, because I mean we're all at a point where at some point or another we wanted to go and do what's best for us, and so having a guy like Walker White kind of as a foundation for that class, if you're a receiver and you see like, all right, one of these top quarterbacks is going to play at Auburn, and he's like you go and you develop this close relationship with him, right? All of a sudden your kind of head starts turning a little bit as to, okay, could Auburn be a potential landing spot? Whether or not, like, if you're a receiver and you feel like you really get along with Walker White, you feel like you guys could build something special at Auburn, But yeah, absolutely. I think having a guy like Walker White, who obviously believes in Hugh Freeze, obviously believes that Auburn is on the come up, and I mean, it's making an impact. He's texting offensive linemen, wide receivers, even defensive players. Like, Walker White is the guy that if you're a head coach, you love to see, just because of how involved he is in recruiting, not only like just the players that you're also going after. So I absolutely do believe that having a guy like Walker White is a huge it's super beneficial to your program.
Walker is a top 150 player according to Rivals, right? And number 1 in the state of Arkansas, I believe, right? Like, he's the best player coming out of Arkansas this cycle.
Yeah,
yeah,
one of the best.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
definitely the best quarterback.
We have him as the best player in Arkansas.
Yeah, so he's the best player coming out of the state, right? Arkansas, obviously, we've seen some pretty good recruits come out of that area. But recruiting recruits essentially is a new thing where he's out there and he's caping on social media for Auburn. In terms of where he's at, do you see that it's making an effect with other quarterbacks for future cycles, right? Like, Auburn is trying to build a pipeline of guys out of high school. How much do you feel like certain commitments affect other commitments at the same position from what you guys are seeing and what Hugh Freeze is doing in recruiting?
Like, are you talking about like how, like, the quarterback position?
Yeah. Like, is he attracting other quarterbacks, right? Like, or recruits thinking, that guy's committed there, I'm going someplace else. Like, how is the staff selling this to build depth?
Yeah, so Auburn, they want to take one quarterback in their 2024 class.
Okay.
He's the guy, Walker White is, and so you haven't really seen them pursue any other 2024 quarterbacks because of that. Like, they've got their guy essentially right now. But I mean, you look at other positions like running back. You've got Jamarian Burnett, but I think Auburn would like to add another solid running back in this class. But I think if you're a quarterback and you're kind of uncommitted and you do look at what Auburn's building, and you feel like maybe there is a place that you could go to have a chance to start at, to kind of be above somebody on the depth chart, maybe that's like an option that you exercise, I guess. But really, I think, with Auburn, they have Walker White. Walker White is there, or he will be here at some point. He's committed. So I think it's just one of those situations where you've got your guy,
Yeah, so they're fully committed. I mean, they're all in on the Walker White train.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
For the 2024
I mean,
cycle.
Walker White's you're all in on Walker White. I mean, every time he's on campus, the whole staff is there to greet him. Like, Walker White's all in on Auburn. So I mean, that's your guy if you're Hugh Freeze.
They're still rolling out the red carpet for him.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, look, recruiting is constant, and Walker White's a good enough player to where if even though he's committed to Auburn, there's no doubt in my mind that other schools are still kind of hey, come check us out. Like, before you sign, or like, before you like really shut down, like, come check us out. He's a good enough player to where schools are going to be reaching out. And if you don't roll out that red carpet, if you kind of let him slide a little bit, with the way recruiting works today, you have to keep your foot on the pedal essentially in every kid.
Yeah, that's so true, especially in the era of NIL, right? Where another school could be like, "Hey, we know you're committed there, but we got Bugattis, so maybe give us a look."
You look at what Auburn. At what Auburn did.
What school is this?
Miami.
You look at what Auburn had this weekend. Like, Mbakwe told our Alabama site like a week and a half ago, he's fully committed to Alabama. Recruitment 100% shut down, and then the following weekend, he's on an official visit at Auburn.
Yeah.
So we need to send Walker White on official visits to other schools when other people are going, so he can recruit for us at their visit. Be like, man, this is cool, but man, when I was at Auburn last week, bro, they had XYZ.
Well,
I don't
know if you guys have seen, but he's coming in this weekend.
Yeah, yes.
Oh,
yeah, I heard
cool. Yeah, I did see that.
That's going to be huge because they got a huge list coming in this weekend too.
Yeah, I just feel like the game. It's a new game, and I don't know if there's anything you've actually talked to recruits about, but with NIL, the whole "I'm taking a visit even though I'm fully committed" thing may be some kind of power play in terms of to these collectives. If you guys really want me, just make sure you put some dollars up. And I know that the coaches can't necessarily be involved in that, but you can signal that it may not be as solid without saying it. And I feel so bad for coaches, man, right now. Recruiting was already hard.
Yeah. And
now you got money flying everywhere. And you hope a kid like Walker White, who honestly, he doesn't seem like the type of kid is going to be super moved by that. Like, look, man, we know it. He's going to get a truck from whatever dealership Auburn has. It's just like giving out trucks right now. And he's going to get top tier treatment as a primary quarterback, and probably even more valuable, Caleb, since based on what you said about him, like, they're not even going after another quarterback. They're just like, this is the guy, right? So I just think it's interesting. I think it's interesting, the game that these guys are playing now on social media, trying to boost their market value, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean,
in recruiting.
I think if you're a recruit, why not explore these other options? Why not, see what these other schools have to offer? Just enjoy your recruitment. It's something you only get to do once, maybe twice if you enter the portal or so. But I mean, it's just something, you got to explore your best option, because for a lot of these kids, this impacts more than just them. This literally will change their lives. It changes their families' lives. You have to do what's best for you. And so exploring your options, I'm just someone that when I see online people getting all upset about recruits taking visits or something like that, I really just don't get it. Like, they're a kid, let them figure stuff out. Let them do what's best for them.
They're young. Let them play the field. Sow their royal oats. All that.
You gotta see what's out there.
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Yeah. Make sure.
So Caleb, I know we got a few that every time I read about them, people are saying that these are must gets. I know for sure one is Cam Coleman. All right. Yeah. Right there in Phoenix City. We've had Clemson picking our pockets from Phoenix City quite frequently over the last 10 years or so.
And Clemson's been going nuts this week, bro.
Yeah, they've been going crazy this week.
They've got a lot of momentum right now.
Yeah. Coleman looks like a must get, along with a couple of other guys. But who do you think, based on what the coaches are saying and those recruits are saying, is this staff's are this staff's biggest targets?
Well, like you said, Cam Coleman is probably the guy that sticks out for me the most. If I were to take a guess, like that's the guy you have to have. I'm so sorry, guys, about that. But yeah, no, Cam Coleman is is one of the guys that you have to have. And then I'd say another one that you're gonna have to get is as an offensive lineman. There's a lot of options. If you'll give me 1 second and pull up some stuff that I've some notes that I have. Some other options, you know, that you maybe not necessarily like you must get them. Like it's for offensive line specifically. If we're looking at that, there's not a guy that's like this is Auburn's to lose. If that makes sense, that when I look at like this list that I have of just, you know, guys that I'm kind of trying to be in contact with and try and figure out like what's kind of their plans for the summer and everything. It's just you got to pick some of these guys, whether that's you got to get some of them. Like Daniel Calhoun is one to really keep an eye on. That's a huge name. Fletcher Westphal, Mason Wade, Jamison Riggs. Jamison Riggs is a guy that Auburn.
That's the offensive lineman, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's officially visiting in a few weeks, right?
I believe maybe Casey Poe is one that's officially visiting. That's a guy that I think Auburn has a really good shot to be like kind of in the battle with to the end. I would assume. But you never know. Like guys are constantly popping up. Like the guy that was here this weekend, Waller. That's a guy that I think Auburn could really have a good chance with.
He's out of Mississippi, right?
Waller?
Really, like I was saying this earlier, like with Waller, he's taking official visits to Auburn, Penn State, and Florida. Maybe another school or two. But, I mean, if you look at those other two options and you look at where Waller is, Auburn's had really good success with guys off the edge, especially from Mississippi, like Derek Hall.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Like, and Waller made a note of that. It's like these kids pay attention to their position and where these kids are going. So when Waller sees a kid from Mississippi that went to Auburn, just taken in the second round of the NFL draft for being an edge rusher, it's eye opening, you know?
Right.
But I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of guys. It's still pretty wide open as far as, you know, like there's still plenty of time, I think, for a lot of these kids. Maybe you haven't narrowed down a ton of them. But I mean, there's a lot of options out there. And at this point, Auburn is kind of where they want to be, in my opinion. Just they're well in the mix for some of these top targets, these top kids.
If you were to project forward, like right now, and I know there's a long way between now and the national signing day when this class is going to finish, but where do you think is a good range for where Auburn should be based upon the momentum that they have currently finishing like, in national recruiting rankings?
I think top 15 is a pretty standard. I think where Auburn could finish. Top 10's a little aggressive, but it could be done, you know. But I realistically think Auburn could finish with a top 15 class if they really close things out well down the stretch, which would be a huge win considering where they were a year ago.
Based on the composite rankings, right? Like, there's that one recruit that can really boost your class a few notches, right? So it could be the difference between a top 15 class and top 10 class. If you had to name one recruit that would elevate this class to a solid top 10 class, maybe mid, around 7 or 6, which is where Hugh Freeze says he wants to be by year 3. What recruit would that be? Who would that be?
Well, Rivals currently has him listed as a 3-star. I think it's only a matter of time before he's a little bit higher than that, and that's Cam Coleman.
I'm not trying to get you in trouble, but what is Rivals' deal with Cam?
I don't know. I'll try and find that out for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, because I'm like, yo.
I think whenever, I don't remember off the top of my head, whenever the next rankings or reassessment for stars is, it might be before the season or it might be after the summer. I don't know, right off the top of my head. But I think whenever that happens, you'll see Cam Coleman get that significant boost to a Rivals 250 player, maybe even a Rivals 100.
We got a big weekend coming up. Few big names. Daniel Hill, running back. I think he's I confuse him with the kid from, is it either he's the kid from Tuscaloosa or Mississippi? There's 2 running backs that Auburn is after. Daniel Hill is one of them.
It's Daniel's not the one from Tuscaloosa. The one
So
you're
he's
talking
Mississippi
about,
then.
Tuscaloosa is Kevin Riley.
Kevin Riley. There you go. So yeah, we got some big names. DeMarcus Riddick. That's the Georgia commit who's visiting this weekend. Kind of talk about Auburn's plan for these guys this weekend. Obviously, they want to get them thinking Auburn, especially if you're DeMarcus Riddick. He's looking to kind of shut down his recruitment soon, even though he is currently committed to Georgia. He's been flirting with Auburn and Alabama this year. Just kind of talk about how important this weekend is and who are some big names we need to keep a watch out for.
Yeah, it's an incredibly important weekend. I mean, you're bringing in Walker White, so there's a little bit of an added bonus, a guy that can be an additional recruiter for you. But it's like you said, DeMarcus Riddick's probably the biggest name coming in this weekend, just because he's the highest rated player that's coming in according to Rivals, and that's a top 50 player. He's an in-state product. That's going to be a tough pull away from Georgia, And if a school does pull it away from Georgia, it's looking like that school might be Alabama right now. But you never know. Auburn's that's what this weekend is about for Auburn, is to really kind of put Auburn right there in the mix for him. If he were to flip or if he wanted to flip, I think that's what this weekend would be about, is to really hammer in his head that Auburn is a place that you want to be. Hey, come be at Auburn, come change the culture, come rebuild something, like build your legacy here. I think that should be Auburn's message kind of going into the weekend for a guy like DeMarcus Riddick. You got Jalen Crawford, who's another Rivals 250 guy coming in this weekend. He's a cornerback out of Parkview. Parkview's got a bunch of guys over there. So if you can get that pipeline going, that'd be huge. And then more recently, like William Eccles, he's a guy who Auburn just hosted for a camp over the weekend, and he told us out of the camp that he's actually planning to come back and camp again on Friday. This time on defensive line. He kind of can play both. Auburn kind of opened their eyes a little bit as to watching him play both at their camp. And so he'll be there again this weekend, is what he was telling us. And so that's another guy that I would kind of keep an eye on, because we have him listed as a 3-star, but that could be a guy that, later down the road, we'll see how he develops.
All right. Before we get to the break, by the way, how are you on time? Are you doing good?
Oh yeah, I'm fine. Yeah,
okay.
We're good.
All right. Before we get to the break, I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna throw out some names, and you tell me how good you feel about this. This is a flip watch. All right. Okay. These are some guys committed to other programs. You already talked Jalen, so I know where you feel about him. But I'm gonna mention DeMarcus Riddick. How you feel? Hot, cold, lukewarm,
cold.
Freezer?
Cold right now. We'll see.
Okay. Perry Thompson.
I feel a little warmer about Perry Thompson.
Okay.
All right. Sterling Dixon.
Kind of lukewarm with him. I think that one's not as. I would pick Thompson to flip over Dixon.
Okay. This isn't 2024. This is 2025. Ryan Williams.
That one's gonna be tough. But I do feel pretty good about Auburn working to really build their relationship. That one's light years away, but I think that I think it is very realistic that you could see Ryan Williams flip from Alabama to Auburn at some point down the road.
Okay,
plenty of time for that one, but
plenty of time for that one.
Yeah.
Again, he committed to Alabama during the Harsin era, so the Auburn that was around when he committed is gone. There's a new Auburn. You gotta get that message across.
That's right. We're giving out Bugattis now.
Yeah,
because we love NIL under you freeze. I mean, that's what they said about Harsin, right? Like he was anti-NIL, so
he was anti-Bugatti.
Yeah, we are not anti-Bugatti. No,
you gotta be pro Bugatti.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, listen, we're gonna jump to the break real quick, Caleb, but we got a bunch of questions that people have asked, so we'll get to those once we come back from the break. Guys, you are watching the Midweek Report, courtesy of Auburn Sports. Smash that like button, guys. Help us out with that. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Pay some bills and acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to auburnsports.com. Harmon Mechanical, a heating and air company offering premier service to the Auburn area and surrounding areas. Give them a call at 334-219-0717 or head over to their website at harmonmechanical.com. Let them know the War Report sent you. Harmon Mechanical. We're there when you need air. And our giveaway sponsor, War Eagle Oil. For all of your motor oil and related products, head over to wareagleoil.com. As always, thank you to the sponsors of the War Report. Thank you to those of you who are members of the War Report community. We appreciate all of you. You can join and get on board with some of this film review. I got that cranking up for you all tomorrow at some point in time. Y'all know I just randomly go live with that film review on a Thursday. So set your notification bell so you can know when I'm going live with that. But I got more basketball film, more football film. I got so much film, man. I got all the film. If there's film, I have the film. So make sure you're locked in with your membership. Get that up to date. Thank you to those of you who have already done this, but you can gift memberships right now from the live chat. So I did see earlier that AU alum got some gifted memberships out there for the community, as well as Chris Causey. Thank you so much to both of you all for gifting memberships. For first month of membership on those two gentlemen for anybody who received that today. But if anybody else wants to join in and gift a membership, you can do that right now from the live chat. We're doing our giveaway, of course. The first of the home t-shirts is going to somebody today. Well, the first giving away one, because of course, you know, y'all saw me rocking mine on Sunday. And, you know, I got my guy C-Dub. I got him hooked up with one. So the third technically, but the first given away, hashtag get your weight up right now in the live chat. We'll be doing that drawing here in about 30 minutes. Make sure you get your spelling correct on that. Sponsored by War Eagle Oil. Head to wareagleoil.com for all of your automotive needs. We are the Auburn Express on all of the podcast situations. So if you want to listen to audio versions of what we have going on, listen to the Auburn Express powered by the War Report. There are audio only formatted conversations happening over there as well, not just rebroadcast. So make sure you are locked in over there. And we appreciate you guys for staying tuned with us. Let's get back to it.
And then there were 4. B had to jump off, but we're going to keep it rolling with some of your comments and questions, starting with Corey Dubb. Good to have you here, sir. He says, Andy Bertram interview brought tears to my eyes. Man. Feelings under these muscles. Now, I didn't know that, Corey, because there was a lot of muscles over there, my guy.
Yeah, he's jacked. He's definitely jacked. I met him in person at a baseball game. Yeah, so he lifts. He lifts.
One of the friendliest buff guys I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, but to his point about this interview, if you have not watched it, I encourage you to go watch it. The part of the interview he's talking about is Andy talking about Rod Bramblett and you know, the commitment him and his wife made to Rod to take care of their children. I mean, it was emotional. It definitely had me in my feels. Andy obviously is a living legend here at Auburn, voice of the Auburn Tigers. So I encourage you, please go listen to that interview. I thought it was a lovely tribute to Rod Bramblett.
For sure. Oda.
Hey, our
we
guy.
We see you out here, my guy. Dustin says, how hard is Auburn pushing for Bryce Kane? Will they turn up the heat on him this weekend with his decision coming next week? I think he's been believed to be an Ole Miss lean, but he is coming in on I don't know if it's an official visit, but he is visiting this weekend. Thoughts about Bryce Kane?
He's not coming in for an official, but I mean, this is one of those things where anytime a recruit kind of comes in like the weekend before their decision, this is going to be Auburn's kind of last chance, I guess I would say. I don't know if chance is the right word. Push. It's their final push. It's their final opportunity to kind of pitch to Bryce Kane like, hey, this is where we want you. This is what we want you to do for us. It's kind of, you know, hey, put it out there, see what the kid does, that kind of deal.
Shout out to Dustin Smith, by the way. He's with the Uptempo podcast. That's our guy over there. You guys make sure you go check out their content over there, man.
Definitely.
What's up, Dustin?
Great guys over there.
Eric Ratney says, how will the addition of Texas and Oklahoma affect recruiting in the SEC moving forward?
Oh, man. It's going to make it a lot harder, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It's going to make it a lot interesting, though. A lot more interesting. This is a question I really haven't thought about that much, but if I were to guess, I mean, you add Texas and Oklahoma to your conference, you add it to your schedule. That means you're going to have some bigger games. bigger night, bigger Saturday night under the lights,
Mhm.
in those stadiums. So I think it's gonna do well for the SEC as a whole. You're probably gonna want to see a couple of kids want to come play in the SEC just because you're gonna have all those primetime games, the ones that every kid dreams about. So I think it'll be good for the SEC as far as talent level coming in. It's gonna get a lot tougher though for teams and programs. I would think.
And
Yeah.
I also think too that if it benefits anyone, it's Texas and Oklahoma, because one of the biggest things that they've had to do is compete for their own kids in state against the Alabamas and LSU's. Because one thing you couldn't say is
About this.
so now.
I said Texas A&M is who probably is pissed the most about this, because that was a big recruiting advantage for them, was to say, hey, man, if you
You
want to
stay home and play in the SEC. Well,
right.
So that I think that's one of the things that Texas, I mean, hey, instead of playing TCU, you can play Alabama, you can play these schools. So I think it helps them a lot for sure. And it makes it kind of tougher for out-of-state schools to come in and steal that talent, even though it's Texas and they can still get a lot of talent out of that state. I think it does help your Texas and Oklahoma for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you get access to those markets, right, in terms of recruiting, especially Oklahoma. I think. I mean, if you're the SEC, you are already in Texas with Texas A&M. So I think the bigger advantage is to Texas and Oklahoma, right? Like, they're the ones who get to say to kids, stay home and play on the biggest stage in college football every Saturday night.
For sure.
So yeah, it expands for everybody, I think. But like, man, you're talking about bringing 2-story programs into the conference in football, and it's just going to be insane, the following year.
All right, we got a question here from, let me get to it. Wesley, he asked, Caleb, have you been at campus this week? If so, who stood out as far as like the camps are concerned? Now, you had a lineman you wrote a story on. I'm not sure if that's going to be your answer, but who stood out this week as far as what you saw?
Yeah, so Auburn had its elite camp yesterday, and I'll give you 2 names that kind of really stood out. I guess 3. We'll go with 3. William Eccles, that guy that I previously mentioned, the offensive line, defensive line kind of guy, who's coming back this weekend. He stood out. And then Reese Baker is an eye to kind of keep an eye on, as far as somebody that Auburn's probably going to turn the heat up on a little bit moving forward. Just because I felt like he did really well in the camps. I think he turned a lot of heads. So those are 2 names. And then John Wayne Oliver is another guy just to mention. He's between Ole Miss, TCU, and Auburn. He was also at the camp. So those are 3 guys that I would kind of keep an eye on. Those are the 3 that stood out really.
Gotcha. Haley asks, when is Big Cat Weekend this year?
So Big Cat Weekend is always going to be that kind of, I guess, the final weekend of July. I don't know the exact dates, but basically all of July is a dead period, right? Except for like the last 4 or 5 days of the month. And so whenever that last weekend of July, that's when Big Cat has traditionally been.
Okay, and we'll be watching out for that. Then it's like the weekend of the 28th or 30th.
That's a big weekend always for Auburn.
Definitely keep an eye out for that. Cameron Knighton says, I'm getting worried about the 2024 class. Seems like Auburn is backing themselves into a corner with having our hands in too many pots. I don't think we get Riddick, Thompson, Dixon, or Waller. Thoughts on this, guys?
Hands in too many pots. I just don't know.
Can you do that in recruiting?
Well, so here's the thing. I think what we've done traditionally poorly in the past, and this is predating Coach Harsin, is that we've gone all in on guys that were big names and swung and missed on them, and then had to try to scramble to pull the class together after that. Coach Freeze isn't limiting himself to 1 5-star at a position. Just like none of these other big recruiting schools do this, right? Like they're saying,
right,
we want you, but we're also talking to this dude right here. Which one of you guys is going to commit first? And they're treating it as if they're already at the pinnacle, as opposed to waiting until they've proven something to somebody. It's like, hey, listen, man, we're Auburn, dude. Like traditionally, Auburn, regardless of how you feel, what we are traditionally is a top, depending on who you ask, 15 to 20 program in the country. We can talk a little greasy to people and be like, hey, man, look, we want you, but we absolutely don't need you. We're going to go talk to this guy too.
Yeah, commit,
so,
or there might not be a spot for you.
Right. And so
Right,
that's the way you have to treat it right now, because if you swing and miss, now you're trying to backfill with whatever 5 stars left out there that might not even be a fit, just so you can raise the level of what your class looks like on paper. And those guys end up either not contributing, or they end up not playing at all because they weren't fits for your program. You just needed another star rated guy to throw on there. That's what happens too much, in my opinion, with Auburn. Let's go out there and be aggressive out there in the market and see who lands here. Because here's the thing. You can't get them if you don't offer them, if you don't go after them really hard. And maybe you get both of them, who knows? But you won't get any of them if you don't offer them.
I think that's why this year is so pivotal for Hugh Freeze in recruiting, because he stated, hey, if we're not in the top like 6 or 7 in recruiting by year 3, everybody here is going to be looking for a job in year 4. He understands they have to go out and get the Jimmies and the Joes, right? Part of that is showing the development on the field, so that kids, I mean, listen, man, you're maybe walking away from Saban because you feel like you're guaranteed a spot someplace else, but you're not walking away because you don't feel like you're going to get developed. If you get on the field at Alabama, you have a good chance. You'll have just as good a chance as anybody in the country to show what you have and go pro. And that's still the ultimate prize for a lot of these guys, right? Is to make it to that next level. The programs that provide the most opportunities to make it to the next level can have this conversation from a position of strength, that like Ike is talking about.
Yeah.
When you are losing, all you have to offer is, we suck. You can come play here immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I'm keeping it real. Like,
No, that's exactly what.
No, that's where we've been living. That's been home for us lately.
If you're at Auburn, you don't have that, hey, come here and we'll send you to the league.
You could be one of 3 guys we get drafted every year.
You have
right
an immediate opportunity to see the field, to compete, to come out here and start. It's not, hey, come sit behind this future first round draft pick for 2 years and then play. It's, hey, come contribute now, help build this thing from the start, and you'll have plenty of tape, plenty of ways to develop. That's kind of where Auburn is at. And I felt like that mentality was not there over the last 2 years. I felt like the mentality kind of during the Harsin era was that Auburn will sell itself, and in a way, it does. However,
for some guys,
you have to have a salesman to do so, and I don't think there was a good salesman here.
That's bars, Caleb.
Oh man, he's just spitting bars.
That's bars, Caleb.
No, he talking the truth though, right? Like, so I mean, listen, man, Mike, you're going through this right now. You know you want to, you know what kind of car you. I don't want to put your business out there unless you want to say what kind of car, but you know what kind of car you want, right?
Yeah.
But the relationship you have with the salesperson is going to determine whether you pull the trigger on the purchase. That's absolutely fact. Even if it's the car you want, if you're not handling me the right way, I'll just pass on it. I don't need a car that bad.
Because
I'm not
still going to get a car
for it.
Yeah, I'm going to get a car. It's just, am I going to get a car?
And that's what these kids are. I'm going to get a scholarship. Me not coming to your school doesn't mean I won't get a scholarship, right? Like, so they have the option to say, I don't have to be here that bad. You need me more than I need you. I'll just go down the street and go get a scholarship. I'm cool.
All right.
Yeah, like if you walk in and the car salesman is like, yeah, the car's over there. If you want it, go look at it. But if your car salesman's like, hey, welcome in. This is our car right here. This is all the perks.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna go to that car.
Yeah. Can I get you some coffee? Right. Yeah. Like I mean, I'm telling you, I'm going through the process right now, since I already said it, but like, I mean, he's right. You come, I know what I want. So you either have what I want or you don't. Right. And so you can enthusiastically pitch me on what I just told you I wanted, or I'm gonna go someplace where they have what I want. And that is it's particularly with NIL being a factor now, that is where a lot of these top kids are going to be at. Because it's not just, do you want my talents? It's, can you pony up? Because everybody's throwing money on the table now as well too, in terms of, hey, you're not only going to get the development at the top programs. Like, it was interesting, Caleb. I tried to explain to people like that there will be a few exceptions where NIL will help some schools that were close the gap. But for the most part, it's going to widen the trench between the haves and have-nots. Right? The
Yeah.
programs who already had money have more money to spend on NIL than you do already. So they had a massive advantage when this started. Right? And then there were some schools who were very bold about, listen, because the rules are murky, it's going to be hard for you to punish us for what everybody doesn't know. So we're going to go out a full balls to the wall, and we're going to ask for forgiveness instead of permission. I think a lot of people's frustration under Harsin was it felt like they were asking for permission constantly with NIL, while other schools were getting ahead just saying, screw it, slap our hand. We'll lawyer up and we'll deal with the consequences. Now, you can debate about which was the better strategy, but here we are. And so, I just think that Hugh Freeze he's put all of his energy into recruiting. If there's anything that you can criticize his coach on, it's not on the effort put into recruiting. And he understands, again, under Harsin, there was an idea within the program that was being kind of perpetuated in the media that he and his staff felt like they could out-develop Nick Saban and Kirby Smart. And you can't do that, man. They got too many guys. They got too many dudes.
Nick Saban and Kirby Smart can get whoever they want, essentially. If they were going up against Auburn, right, under Brian Harsin, they could go out and get who they wanted because nobody really knew who Brian Harsin was. I don't think Brian Harsin put himself out there enough to where he developed those relationships.
It's hard work.
And yeah, it's a lot of hard work. You really have to work for it. And you see this new coaching staff, they're going out and they're getting their hands dirty as far as meeting coaches, going on the road all the time, prioritizing recruiting. Like really prioritizing recruiting, making that almost the thing that right now, if you ask anybody that is following Auburn football, right? Obviously there's not much to talk about, but even when there was like spring practices going on, right? There was a little bit of talk about the quarterback situation, everything like that. But really the thing is, well, how's the transfer portal looking? Like what are they doing right now in recruiting? Because that's kind of what this staff, I feel like, has built their identity on right now, is that this staff is going to come in and recruit Auburn and recruit for Auburn like Auburn fans haven't seen in several years.
Right. And that's why, to your point, Caleb, and to the person who asked the question that they're concerned, I understand the concern because you haven't seen a lot of commits lately, but I think this is different from previous years. And I know we got a lot of PTSD when it comes to recruiting, but I think it's different this time around because of the fact that we're having big names come to campus. When a lot of big names coming to campus like that in the past few years.
This weekend you have like 6 or 7 guys. And like, there's several big names, and there were some this past weekend, right?
And
that's
some more,
2 weekends. And that kind of outdid an entire month. I felt like this time last year,
right?
And that's just the truth. Is like last year and this year, there has been such a jump as far as kids on campus, and not just getting them on campus, but it's not just like a courtesy visit of I'm going to go visit Auburn just to visit. I feel like for a lot of these kids, it's I'm going to go visit Auburn because I feel like Auburn might have something to offer now. Like it seems like for a lot of these big names, they're not just coming to campus to come to campus. They're coming to campus because there is a little bit of genuine interest in Auburn. Like there is genuine interest there. And I feel like there wasn't really any big name that came to campus last year that had genuine interest in Auburn because, I mean, they all they can see what we can see. They all knew where the program was headed.
Right.
For sure.
That's tough. I mean, look, that's a tough reality, I think, for a lot of people to accept, Caleb, about where the program was headed and your recruits seeing that essentially and saying, probably not for me. Yikes, dude. So, Hugh Freeze, I think that's part of why he's growing gray hairs, right? Is that he understood how much he had to do to turn that narrative around. It wasn't going to be an easy job. It wasn't like, hey, I'm showing up, I'm here, think differently about it because I'm different. No, he went out and he spent the time on the road and he put into work. And I think it's paid dividends for them. It just has to continue to pay dividends if they're going to keep up. And I like that he understands that.
Yeah, he's been in the SEC before. He knows what it takes to recruit at the SEC level. And then you had all that stuff happen, and he was away from the SEC for a little bit. Well, Auburn is all of a sudden his redemption. Like this is his chance. This is his second chance. This is his second big chance to come back to the SEC. And so you're seeing a guy who's got this. He's gonna put his head down. He's gonna work, and he's gonna prove to everybody that he can do this.
Yeah. We got 3 more. I'm gonna grab 3 more comments, and we'll get ready to break real quick. We got one here from Stewart. Stewart says, "Could y'all talk to Cole or King or one of our former offensive linemen about grading that O lineman, about the grades that O linemen receive, since they don't really have statistics?"
This is something we're actually already working on. So we're going to try to get we've already had some conversations with some of the guys. So be on the lookout. It's all I will say. Actually, no. So we already recorded one with Cole, right? Cole Kublick. That's dropping tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Cole is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah. So it wasn't about offensive linemen specifically, right? But we
talk
also,
offensive line.
Yeah, but I'm saying like we're going to have a more expansive, probably offensive line conversation. Who was it that we said we were going to talk to? It wasn't King. It was the other O lineman that we did build and report with.
Ben Grubbs.
Yeah. Ben Grubbs is already committed to come in and talk to us a little bit. So that's coming later on this summer. So we already got you, Stuart. Don't worry about that.
Always. We got you, bro. Stuart Donald comes back and says, "Hearing anything about the big JUCO forward? Auburn brought in a JUCO this week on a visit in basketball. Darren Scott. Any?
No, I'm not hearing that.
I haven't heard anything conclusive. I mean, Caleb probably is a lot closer to that information than I would be.
I am not the basketball recruiting guy.
Henry Patton, I think, he wrote a story on
it. He did just write a story. If you guys want to go check it out, it is at that auburnsports.com, as it's on the
yeah. Sign up.
For sure. Listen, Caleb, I want to thank you so much, man, for giving us your time. I know we kind of hit you kind of last minute, but we appreciate you being responsive. We definitely got to have you on as recruiting news develops throughout the summer. Tell the people how they can reach you, man. I'm pretty sure you're giving people updates on Twitter or whatever. How can people contact you?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. It's been a blast. Anytime, y'all just let me know, and if I can make it, I'll be here for sure. So thanks for having me on, guys. But yeah, you can find my work at the AuburnSports.com. And then I'm on Twitter at CalebJ_rivals as well. So go give me a follow if you want. You can if you want. You don't have to, but the option
go follow Caleb, man. Stop playing.
Yeah, he being modest. Being modest, but do it.
Caleb's gonna be our Bugatti tracker. He's gonna be like, wait, we gave out 2 Bugattis this week. That's 2 top 5. Those are 2 5-stars. If they get a Bugatti, it's a 5-star. So hopefully they get a few of those. We haven't been getting 5-star athletes a lot. So
it's a bit of a drought.
Yeah, it's been a drought. So
but anyway, thanks, Caleb. We appreciate you, man. And I think it's giveaway time.
It is giveaway time.
We're giving away. Oh yeah,
new shirt, baby.
The new shirt deal. We're giving away these, courtesy of War Eagle Oil. You already know what to do. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments there to enter to win. I'm stalling because we got time. Ike hates it. The look on Ike's face, you can't see it, but he got a little toot right now. But he gonna be all right. He gonna be all right. And go. All right.
I was about to say, you're going to make it where I'm going to just not even wait for real.
Drawing while you're showing the shirt.
Right. Make sure you guys thank the folks at War Eagle Oil for your shirt. Who is going to get it? Brandon Carter. What up? I see your dog there looking. That's not your dog. That's a meme. Never mind. That's probably not your dog. But yeah, Brandon, if you're still here, let us know. So, get that shirt to you.
Enough of y'all sign up for these Patreon memberships. One day, Bugatti.
Hey.
Brandon was like, let me let him know right this minute. Congratulations, sir. What we need you to do, we need you to email us at business@thewar.report. Business@thewar.report. There you can send us your physical address, shirt size, or else if you don't send us your shirt size, tell him what size he will receive, Mike G.
It's medium. It will not fit.
Absolutely. So send us that and your shirt will be on its way. Congratulations and thanks again for supporting. Gentlemen, let's grab some more of these comments. Let's do the Jazzy challenge.
Oh yeah.
The Jazzy challenge. Well, let me do it right. Let me do it proper. Okay. All right. Got to do it proper when Jazzy challenges. All right.
Yeah. Welcome to another Jazzy challenge.
All right.
Where was he last time? Mexico?
New Mexico.
Yep.
New Mexico last time. He's in the SIP. He's in Mississippi. Shouldn't be, but he is.
Let's see. I'm gonna say Jazzy is in Missouri. He's back to the crib. Yeah, I'm going Missouri.
I'm going South Carolina.
All right, Jazzy.
Where you at, Jazzy? Where you at, Jazzy? Let us know for sure. Oda Smith says if Coach Hugh Freeze is here for 15 years, he brings 4 natties to Auburn.
Wow.
And enjoy War Eagle. I'm not saying those 2 words together.
He'll get
4 natties in 15 years is pretty good, though. I mean, like that sounds like nothing, but that's.
I mean, he will be an Auburn legend.
Yeah, he'll have a statue outside. His statue outside the stadium.
Yeah,
and his house.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm here for that. That'll be a good 15 years.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, literally, they might convert the stadium into a house for him and then build a new stadium next year.
Just move in
here. Yeah, you can have this one.
The house that was built for you, Freeze.
So yeah, right. Short commute to work.
Jazzy, we want to thank you for the. Did you give some memberships, Jazzy?
He gifted some memberships as well.
Hey, our guy,
Thank
always
you,
coming
sir.
through.
So very much. We keep an eye out too to see what the status is. But Scorpion in the squad says maybe I missed it, but are there any updates about the Jarquez Hunter situation?
No,
not that we know.
Man,
of.
they are.
You didn't miss. Trust me, if there were updates, you wouldn't have missed them.
Yeah,
everybody would be all over it.
Yeah. Hugh Freeze was asked about this down in Destin. Again, he just kind of deflected as he should. Right. I think me personally, in my opinion, I feel like right now, based on, the little that we know and a lot of the conjecture, people are going to demand answers, but I think it should be handled in-house.
Agreed.
I think it should be handled.
Yeah, based upon the information that I know. Yeah, if
it should just be handled in-house. Yeah,
if it gets beyond in-house, then some new information. So
we don't want to hear about it. Trust me, you don't want an update. The only update you want is right. Like there is no update. So no news is good news.
Yeah, you got doggone right.
He's
I didn't know. I'm not saying you were from Mobile. I thought you lived though, like
in
where
Missouri.
your home base was in Missouri. Though I didn't. I know where you're from. Anyway,
he said, "Damn it."
I ain't trying to change where you from. I know where you from, Jazzy.
Thank you for the super chat, though, bro.
Yeah. Appreciate that. Oda says we're going to nickname it Freeze Stadium.
I don't know about that one. Jordan Hare is a little too iconic, and they're going to rename the new stadium that maybe.
Yeah, the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Freezer.
Yeah. There we go.
Oh man. Okay. Derek McClellan says, Mike, where the shoes at?
Oh man, if you don't follow me on social media, shout out to my homegirl Allison. She is a K-State grad, and Allison _Renner. Go follow her. If you want some Big 12 stuff. But like she made a pair of K-State shoes. And so I was like, yo, fam, how about you throw a War Eagle and some Aubies on these Air Force Ones I have that are literally the most uncomfortable shoes I have ever worn. I have no use for these things, but I might if you do that. And mine actually came out better than the one she did for herself, which I don't know, like, I don't know how she did that, but they're pretty awesome. I may never wear them. They're too perfect. I may never wear. They might just be a collector's item. And part of our contract is she can never make that pair again. So mine are one of a kind.
You get that in writing?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah. DMs constitute a contract these days. Right? I check
no comment.
Right. Right. Hilarious. Quentin Colley says, will he, referring to, I'm assuming Walker White,
yeah,
start before Ashford? Thoughts,
This
guys?
is a really good question.
That's up to Robbie.
Yeah, I was about to say a lot of this has to do with Robbie Ashford himself. A lot of it has to do with how well Peyton Thorne plays this year, whether or not he's back for another year, because he does have another year of eligibility. And a lot of it will have to do with the progression of Holden Gertner, right? Like,
such a loaded question.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of there's no way to answer this question definitively right now. We'll see how this season goes with Peyton Thorne. And we'll see how good that offensive line truly is, right? Like, if that offensive line is protecting well enough, then the necessity of Robbie's legs diminishes, which means he's going to have to raise his floor on his arm talent.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, there's so many what if in the air in regard to this. What's not in question is how much Robbie Ashford wants it. He absolutely is working his butt off right now to try to make it happen. What's not in question is whether or not he has the ability to play better. You know, his talent, I don't think, is in question, regardless of what people think about what the results have been on the field with his arm.
Right.
The thing that is in question is whether or not he embraces the role of leadership necessary to be the guy. Because, you know, and I've been saying this from the beginning, when I talk about a type that the coaches want, I think that they prioritize first and foremost the accuracy and ability to know where to go with the football, and then what kind of leadership qualities you exude on and off the field. If you have those two things, they'll figure out how to do the rest of the stuff with you, right? Like, you might not have the arm strength, but do you know where to go with the ball? Great, cool. We'll figure out how to get you in here and get better anticipation on stuff so that you can throw into the tight windows before the guy gets there, so you don't have to zip right. There's things that you can do and put you in the right position as far as talent around you to make you successful. I don't think that this staff prioritizes athleticism as much as people would like to believe from the quarterback position. I've been saying this for months. And then they went out and got Peyton Thorne. I feel like that confirms it. Then they went out and signed Hank Brown. I feel like that confirms it. They got Walker. I feel like you have to start reading tea leaves at some point in time and saying they're telling you exactly what they want. They want a guy who behaves like this on and off the field, has this type of leadership quality, and just can flat out spin it. Robbie Ashford can spin it. No question about that. Robbie Ashford needs to figure out how to make sure that he's doing the right stuff on and off the field to put himself in a position that athleticism that he has that is superior to everybody else in the room is a separator for him. And they don't have to decide between that and all this other stuff.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Appreciate that, Ike. Thomas Jones, appreciate the super sticker. And then he commented and said, just wanted to say, great show, guys. Have to leave early for my colonoscopy in the morning. Hope everything literally comes out great for me.
Yeah.
See what you did there.
Yeah.
Hey,
All right. We pray that it goes well for you, my good sir.
Well, yeah, for those of you who don't know, this is something good to do in your early 40s, right? Get your colon scoped. The polyps can develop in the colon that can turn into cancer in 10 to 15 years if you don't get that cleaned out. So, like, this is a really good thing to go do between the ages of 40 and 50, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
It's unpleasant, but necessary.
Oda comes back and asks, could y'all see 4 natties in 15 years? Be real. Could you see it?
I mean,
Let's go back to recruiting.
Yeah, I'm about to say, talk to me after year 3 of this tenure. and I can say, because here's the thing, he's got to make it 15 years, right? Like, and that's not a
He's got to make
disrespectful
it
comment.
5.
I'm saying, but
Yeah,
like,
this is
yeah,
all is Auburn. Yeah,
my
so
point.
He's got to make it 5.
we just talked about this on the Amen Corner about Auburn's propensity to fire coaches, right? Like, we just don't have patience for coaches. And so if he gets one of those first 4 in the first 5 years, he'll earn himself another 2 or 3 years, depending upon how the year after the national title goes, right? But he can't wait 8 years to win the first one and then go 4 in a row, because he won't make it. Right. So, I mean, it's just the nature of the beast of where we are in our recruiting footprint and who our rivals are. We haven't traditionally had enough patience for coaches to be able to do that sort of thing. So if he wins 1 in the first 5 years, he's going to have to win number 2 within the next 2 or 3 years after that. It can't be big breaks, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't care how good he's recruiting. He better win that first one. And in order for me to see him make it 15 years, he's got to win that first one within the first 5 years, in my opinion, or we better be damn close in them first 5 years.
Yeah, like I was saying, like maybe he may not get a natty in 5 years, but he gets to the playoff in, let's say, what, 2, 3 of those years.
yeah,
You know what I mean? 10-win seasons. He gets us close, and I think he survives, maybe. I mean, again, that's the exception. I think what we've been accustomed to are just big high highs and low lows, right? We'll go 10-win season and we'll drop back to 7-5 or 8-4. But if he's 9, 10 even year on out, maybe. I think we'll see. But yeah, we'll to be determined. I like what I see so far, but again, we haven't even played a down yet under Hugh Freeze. So curious to see what this looks like under him. Jazzy says, my company is in Springfield, Missouri. I live in Mobile. I only go to the main terminal around 5 times a year. LOL, just giving y'all hell. Though.
So I was right about where the main terminal is. That's what I was saying when I was back to home base. I wasn't saying where you was from, my guy. Hey.
Okay. David Wonderlick says, disagree with Ike. We literally have hired only one more coach in Alabama since the turn of the millennium.
Yeah, but like let's be real, in recent history, right? Like, I mean, because if you count the 3 that they had in like a year, from Francione to Price and then Shula, right? Like, I guess.
And also, I'm not making this compared relative to Alabama solely. I'm talking about the national landscape of how we hire and fire coaches. Like, it's well documented how many coaches we're currently still paying.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a reality. Like, I mean, we can debate whether or not, but that's not even like the winningest coaches. And we, again, go listen to the Amen Corner podcast that we just did. It dropped on Monday, I believe. Like, we're talking about coaches that have winning percentages above 65% for their career at Auburn that were fired. Not guys that were losing a bunch, right? Like, we're not talking about a history of Brian Harson's. We're talking about Tommy Tuberville. We're talking about Bowden, right? Like, we're talking about guys who won. Gus Malzahn won, still got fired because they didn't win enough.
Yeah, and let's be clear, Tuberville made
none of them made it past year 9.
Yeah,
I think 8 was the cap of it.
Yeah, we're having this discussion in the frame of him making it 15 years.
Correct.
So let's just make sure that's understood. 2, you got to remember, even Tuberville, for as much success as he had, they tried to fire him literally right before his best season, one of the most iconic seasons.
Right.
And there's a whole name for what happened to him. Right? Like, I mean, let's keep it real, man. This is not an easy job.
Yeah, right.
Auburn is not an easy job.
And again, that's just the reality of where we are in the history of this program. I'm not saying that we're worse than any other program. I'm just talking about who we are. Like, again, I didn't make a comparative analysis. I'm just talking about Auburn expects a certain level of stuff, and a part of that is about championships, not just about winning seasons. Yeah, and if we're talking about a 15-year span, you better win a couple of them before you get to like year 4, 5, 6. You toe in the line if you ain't won nothing.
At least an SEC championship or something.
Yeah.
At least an SEC championship in that span of time for sure.
Yeah.
David Wendell, he gives a relationship analogy, so I gotta read this. Also, Harsin helps Freeze stay longer as a coach. It's like when after you date a crazy girl, then after that the next one has a lot easier time getting along with your mama after you set the bar so low.
Damn.
Again, that might buy you 5 years. Might.
Yeah.
But listen, year 1 and 2 will erase the memory of that past one. Once you get to year 3 and 4, you better start.
That is no longer relevant what the last one did.
It's on your own credit at that point in time.
Yeah,
You're not spending somebody else's credit. You better start running up your own credit, or people are gonna be like, okay, this was cute at first.
You know what's interesting was the whole time Harsin was coach, people would come at us and say, y'all still blaming Gus for this, and we're like, yeah, that was like 10 months ago. So yes, we're still blaming him for that. And then he got fired essentially a year and a half in.
But see, here's the thing: a lot of those same people will be blaming Harsin for the next 10 months about where we are as a program.
Yeah, that's
right.
right.
It's the reality. You're left with the bag of what somebody else previously did.
Which is fair. I would never criticize him for doing that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I'm just saying. I just thought it was interesting that people are saying, and so for Freeze, again, you got to understand, Hugh Freeze understands this, what we're talking about. He said it.
He said it himself. Yeah.
Fourth time I've said this on this one broadcast, right? Yeah. If we're not in the top 7 in recruiting by year 3 or 4, everybody's going to be looking for jobs. He gets it, man. He understands that it's tough, and they've got to put into work, and they've got to go out, and they've got to get top-tier athletes, and then they've got to figure out how to put together game plans and strategies that get the most out of those top-tier athletes, and that has to convert to wins and SEC West championships. Yeah. That's it, man. That's the name of the
West
game.
Is going away here.
Or you need to be in contention. You need to be in SEC championship games.
Yeah,
like whatever version of an SEC West championship that's gonna exist once Oklahoma and Texas join. You need to be in the running for that, and you need to win your fair share.
Yeah,
this is why Georgia got rid of Mark Richt.
Correct.
They would get all the way up to the door, and Mark Richt was a great coach.
Yeah, they gave him as
average
much
like 9
leash
wins
as you possibly could have given a coach who won that much, and they still said, "This is cool, but this ain't what the standard is."
Correct. Yeah, and I mean they rolled the dice on Kirby Smart, and it ended up being a good bet. But they still gave him time to get his program going.
They did.
So yeah, I'm just saying, at the end of the day,
but he turned in some success relatively early, because I think he won the SEC championship like in year 2 or something like that. So he
what was year 2 for him? Was it 2017?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Fair enough.
So he, to Ike's point,
and in a national title game in year 2. Yeah.
To Ike's point, he did show something early.
But here's the thing.
I didn't take over a crumbling program, though.
I can say this fairly confidently. If Kirby Smart was in year 5 and had not had the success he'd have so far, if he was turning in the kind of results the last guy was, Mark Richt, in year 5, they'd be talking hot seat in for him at that school.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're just like, we just got rid of a guy who could get us to the doorstep and not do anything. If 5 years later they were in the same spot that they were in, they'd be putting him on the hot seat. It's hard to imagine that right now because he's had the success that he's had. But trust me, nobody who is accustomed to winning wants to go back to mediocrity. Like, that's just not for 7-8 years. Nobody wants to do that. Right. That's not real, especially when you're looking at rivals of yours, right? Georgia was in the midst of one of the biggest droughts for national championships ever, right? Like in the SEC, like they had been a program that was competing for it, and then they kept getting close but could never break through, and they're like, we can't keep doing this. We can't. Not when Auburn had just won one in 2010 and then went back in 2013. That increased the pressure for them to get rid of.
And it didn't help. And it didn't help that Florida was winning championship. Like they was going to the SEC championship with even with Muschamp. They got to the SEC championship over
South Carolina and Missouri. Went to the SEC championship. It didn't help. They was like, this is cool, but nah, man. I mean, Missouri just got here, bro. What are we doing?
Isn't it crazy to think that Georgia, essentially has won 4 SEC championships since 1992. They won in 2002, 2005, 20. There's a long drought, 2017, and then last year,
Right.
in 2022. So they won 2 SEC championships under Mark Richt, and the last one was in 2005. And then they waited 10 years to fire him.
Yeah.
After his last SEC championship. Now they
He
got
was
there a
always
couple
knocking
times
on the doorstep. He was right there, close enough. But my point is that Auburn has not had even that level of patience with a coach to say 10 years of being close, cool.
Right.
Because listen, man, they were just getting ready to fire Gus 2 times
2017.
before they actually got rid of him.
2017 for sure.
I'm telling you, man, they were like, it's rough. So the name of the game is win, and they rolled their dice on Hugh Freeze, and they're throwing their weight behind him in what is a new SEC. So I like that he has SEC experience, but let's be clear, this is a new SEC that he's playing in, right? It's not the same SEC left,
sure.
right? So he understands the recruiting landscape, which will help him. But ultimately, I think it's better that it's a new SEC because he has to be somebody new this go round to adapt to what's happening this go around. What you're counting on is his offensive acumen paying dividends for you and his effort in recruiting paying dividends for you. You put those two things together and maybe you have, a great coach, right, that can get you in the conversation regularly. Look what Brian Kelly did in year 1. Instantly got LSU back in the conversation. A program that was only a few years removed from one of the greatest runs in college football history. So it just may take, and I'm not surprised he was able to do it because that program is chock full of 5-star athletes.
The one thing for sure, they was recruiting well throughout all.
Yeah, 100%. Right. Hugh Freeze is not taking over that, so I think there automatically has to be more grace for him to build his program. But ultimately, I feel like the same, like as long as the development is clear on the field the first 3 years, it may not translate to SEC championships, but realistically speaking, I think that you can still show improvement in creeping toward, like in the first 3 years, if he has a 10-win season, to me, that would be a resounding success. 9 or 10 win season, throwing a 9 or 10-win season in the first 3 years, in essentially what is a rebuild. Because over half this team will have been recruited from high school or from the portal. So yeah, man, that's a rebuild to me. That's a rebuild. So you got to give him the time. You got to give him the time to do it. And then once he does it, as long as you can measure the success, he was here in year 1. We're here in year 2. We're here in year 3 with no apparent setbacks. And it doesn't look like we're significantly moving backwards in any area, and you continue to build that pipeline and you continue to develop athletes, then it's going to be, I think it'll be okay under him. Personally, I think he has more resources at Auburn than he had at Ole Miss, which is why I want to dismiss a lot of his previous experience. Like, his experience matters, but experience is a bad word. But like, you understand what I'm saying? Whatever shortcomings he had at Ole Miss, I feel like I'm not ready to attach those shortcomings to him here at Auburn because to me, we're a better program. Top to bottom. I had the nerve to ask him when we interviewed him. I knew he wasn't going to answer, but I was like, is Auburn better than Ole Miss? Come on, bro. It's better. Like, it's better here. Right. But ultimately, it just boils down to that. He's got more resources. You've got a more prestigious name in terms of football, right? You've got Heisman winners. You've got championships. You've got an everything school. You've got probably, one of the best coaches in college basketball, in the stadium in the arena across from you. You've got great program. You got a great baseball coach on campus. You are part of an amazing sports culture. Bring football back to where it needs to be, right? And let's complete the circle of life here. Hugh Freeze has got a great opportunity, man. And, this is a guy who's getting a second chance. And all he asked for from people was, give me a chance to earn your trust. And I don't know how anybody could say no to that. I believe I'm a person that believes in redemption. You don't have to be what you've been, right? But your actions have to prove that you'll be somebody different. than you were, especially that person wasn't positive or wasn't who you want to be known as. And it clearly wasn't. He said that loud. So now, the person he's going to be is going to be the guy who was always a hard recruiter. It's going to be easier from now because, like, listen, man, he didn't have to cheat. He just have to play by the 2 rules that you have now.
Right.
Right? Like, I mean, all the rules have gone out the window, right?
Yeah.
I mean, to me, you play by those couple rules and don't do anything crazy. Don't say anything stupid in the media, right? And stay out of trouble personally, because your personal life is everybody's business now that you're the second highest paid employee in the state of Alabama.
Yeah. Right.
Right? And that's it, man. And have fun, man. I hope Hugh Freeze has fun as Auburn's head coach. Winning is fun. So I hope he has lots of fun.
If he has lots of fun, then that means we all have lots of fun.
Now I'm telling you, if he's not having a good time, neither are we.
Neither are we. Neither are. That's the truth.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Good conversation. Ike, take us on out and tell the folks what they need to be doing, sir.
Come on and join the party. We appreciate everybody who has tomorrow more film review coming. I'm kind of in a basketball mode right now. I feel like I want to do another basketball review tomorrow. But, listen, I usually don't decide which of these film folders I'm going to open up until that morning. So we'll see. I've got plenty to choose from for you. So just come on board. Again, get your notifications turned on if you are a member, so you know when I'm going to go live. Hit that notification bell. Thank you to everybody who's continued to gift memberships. We already said it earlier, but thank you to AU alum who gave some memberships away earlier. We had Chris Causey who did that, and then Jazzy Joe also gave some memberships away. Thank you for all of those who continue to support us in that way. First month of membership on those guys. We are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. Wherever you listen to podcasts, make sure you lock in right there. If you haven't had an opportunity to win something, it's okay. You can go to the website and purchase something. I just made the link live for the home pocket tee, so you can go and cop that today if you want to. Shout out to our winner from today. We appreciate you for joining us today. Brandon Carter, not a name that I've seen a lot in the comment section, so definitely good to get some new blood in here with the winnings, and we appreciate everybody who continues to support us. And then just one last shout out to Harmon Mechanical, man. They have been a great partner with the War Report right now. Make sure you head to harmonmechanical.com, 334-219-0717 to get your initial consultation set up for these summer days that are upon us. Harmon Mechanical is there when you need air.
Thanks to Caleb again for joining us, and thank you guys for checking us out. Please share this video on before you head out of here, guys. It helps us out a ton. What also helps us out a ton if you smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. You can find us Instagram, Twitter, Facebook at The War Report. We're TW Report on TikTok. Zipper now, guys, but we got a lot of content coming and a special drop tomorrow, guys. Check that out. Check that out, because we missed Tuesday, so we gonna
morning drop tomorrow too. I forgot about that. We got morning drop tomorrow. We got Cole Kubelik dropping tomorrow. I got a film review coming tomorrow, man. Listen, bro,
tomorrow's a busy day, so if you don't have much to, you need to get through work, we got you. So check us out. Until then, y'all, enjoy the rest of your evening, and as always,
War Eagle.
War Eagle.